What I'm about to share with you is called the velocity report. It was probably the number one document data that I could ever show a homeowner in order to get a price reduction or to speed up somebody who said, I'm going to wait to list the property until some kind of condition. And so it's called the velocity report. It just measures actives versus under contract and sold versus failed records. But we are storytellers at the kitchen table and during seller servicing timeframes. We have to have sellers understand that there's the marketplace condition and there's a property condition. And when you're showing them the LEAP report, remember, you're at the kitchen table, you've done your walkthrough as a buy owner, even better yet, you're sitting with a loan officer and you're helping a loan officer understand how to read the marketplace. And or you're presenting this to a buyer, how to read the market. Are they buying in an area that's appreciating, depreciating, neutral, whatever it is? So when you're right here on your one-page document and you show this, is the property priced right based on its features and market velocity? Right there is where you're going to show your last document, and that is market velocity. So let's go ahead and take a look at one. And now you're going to have a hard copy of one that, and you go, well, how do I determine market velocity report? It's not called the MLS, it's just a CMA report. You want a one-line CMA report that shows distance from the subject property, generally a mile from the subject. You want days on the market. You certainly want the status right here, and you want list price and original list price, or pretty much what you see here on the screen. And now you can get rid of some of these columns, but ideally you do have, let's see here, those are the highlights. So you can, I'd recommend also having the brokerage fees of the other, sorry, the brokerage fees, the brokerage names of other companies that had listings in the area. And I'll tell you why in just a moment. So here is the visual presentation. You have a hard copy. Again, I'm assuming you've printed one for around your own home, a velocity report. And from this report, you practiced it 20 times. Because when you go in and win a listing, you're going to win because of not your personality, because that's based on charm and kindness and warmth. You're going to win it based on competency. If you've watched our video in the early part of this training about from the book Cues, we give people cues, and those cues are what eliminate us. Yes, you're nice, you're kind, you're warm. And you go, but I'm not a numbers person. Well, great. You're nice, you're kind, you're warm. A lot of agents are. However, they're going to determine, do you have any competency? And you might go, of course I'm competent. Well, in the eyes of the seller, are you competent? We have to lean on your knowledge of the area, not the brand you're with. So here's your velocity report. You produce it and you want to look at actives versus under contract. Now we can see from this report that there are a lot of active properties. All right. So the question for you, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, does this feel like a buyer's market or a seller's market? A buyer's market has too much inventory. Now, you can see we also have 2 under contract. So we've got about 25 for sale and 2 under contract. So we have about a 12-to-1 ratio. In a market like this is why I'm going to recommend to you, stay by owner, but be more proactive. You can reach out to the move-up list I gave you. I gave you the loan officer list. And again, why would you go after loan officers? Because they have a huge portfolio, way bigger than any realtor. If you contacted 3 loan officers, Mr. and Mrs. Buy Owner, if you contact 3, you may find they've got about 50 or so pre-approved buyers. If you contact 3 agents, there's no way that they're going to have 50 pre-approved buyers. And that's why when I list houses, you know what I'm going to do? I contact the LOs. Why? Because they may have a buyer that's orphaned, not with an agent, that type of a thing. But you could do the same thing. By the way, agents, when you share these ideas of what you would do, you're not saying, oh, list with me, list with me. You're pointing out to them that they should do the loan officer list. They should do the move up buyer list. And you're going to find enough of these assignments, so to speak, go to the seller, and they're going to go, I'm not going to do any of these things. I'm so sick of realtors calling me. I appreciate your help. What's your brokerage fee? What do you think of our price? Those are the questions. If you practice this, each of these presentations about 20 times, and for you people that are overconfident, remember that Goliath was overconfident. And what did it get him? He died. I see way too many real estate careers die from overconfidence, where the agents say, the maximum I'll do is the minimum I get away with. If you practice and practice and practice and practice and practice, role play with myself or one of our coaches, role play with other realtors, role play with spouse or family member, role play with loan officers. That's one of your best bet. Do it again and again and again. When you get sick of it, do it again. You got to do it till you're bored with it. When you're bored of hearing yourself, your confidence will go so high. And then you go in, you're ready, you got the tools. So back to this. You're going to show the seller two things on this report. One is supply versus demand. You can see here we have about 20 something sellers on the market, and we have, excuse me, just two houses under contract. And also you want to be able to show the days on the market. Look at how high these days in the market are, close to 100 or more on so many of these properties. And you can just draw on your document. You're going to leave these with the seller anyway. Just keep drawing on these and have them making notes on it. Because this is a real surprise to sellers. They're on hidden Zillow, didn't know they were, and they thought they were on regular prominent Zillow. In addition, they didn't know they were a 10-to-1 ratio of seller to buyers. Now, there could be an opportunity where there's only 7 actives and 37 pendings. All right, just tell the truth. Say there's 8 buyers, whatever, for every seller. You're in great shape. Stay the course all the time. You want to tell the buyer owner, stay the course. You could do this. And they won't be as defensive. You can move them out of stage 1, defensive, to stage 2, which is awareness. And that's all these things are doing. All these 5 presentations are doing is trying to change their awareness that maybe, just maybe, they can't do this and they need your help and exposure on the property. So let's wrap up this document. So we have supply and demand, and now we have, you can see the sold records and the failed records. Down below, you have an illustration of how far back we went on this, about 6 months or so. And always have your criteria down there in case they want to see, well, what was your search based on? Okay, so down below, and this is not good, but it's what I'd call a leading indicator. Use those words. And I'm sorry if you, again, say, I'm not a numbers person. I would say, but are you a storyteller? This is just a story about their marketplace. And it is extremely relevant to them that you're telling it versus some other agent telling it. But we have to know the marketplace, not just marketing. So here we go. If you notice the S's, those are sold properties. And then these are terminated, expired, withdrawn. Some markets, there's C as in canceled. When you notice that the failed properties are equal to or greater than the sold properties, just by looking at the bottom of the report, you can generally tell. If I only saw a report that showed me like 8 solds and 10 fails, I would be able to tell without even scrolling up that the actives versus the pendings are probably really out of whack. Why? This is what's called a leading indicator. I want you to use that language with the seller. Say the failed records, when they exceed the solds, is a leading indicator of what we're going to see in the present day marketplace. The solds versus faileds are past market, and the past is going to be affect the current marketplace. And you could see that's where we have 20 actives and we only have 2 pendings. My recommendation actually to you, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, is either stay the course or get more exposure from some agent. Doesn't have to be me, but some agent. And I mean, I've said it to many sellers. Doesn't have to be me. Just get somebody. But my recommendation to you, seller, is you get to the dance as quick as you can. Now, some sellers are going to say, I think I'll just hold out. I won't put my house on the market right now. The market's not healthy. Well, here's what happens, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. If you hold the asset in a marketplace where the expireds exceed the solds, are the houses appreciating, depreciating, or are they neutral? I call it DNA. Are they depreciating? Are they neutral, going nowhere? Or are they depreciating in value? Appreciating, depreciating, okay, DNA. Okay, so the seller needs to answer that question, and they will. And they say there's 10 for sale to every 1 under contract. If we're depreciating, you don't like the number today, where will it go later? So the question is, should you sell the asset now or wait till it drops another $50,000 and then sell it? So what you can see is it's a very interactive conversation. And again, if you're not comfortable with what I'm saying, listen to this video again and again and again, and come up with a story about marketplaces. But you have to be the storyteller. And I promise you, these are things that shift gears. I don't care if this is your first deal ever, that you've never done a listing at all, and you want to be able to eliminate the competitor. One of my best clients, best agents I was coaching, it was her first FISBO, and she was going after one of the top agents back in St. Louis, competing with. And she was, going through these velocity reports. The seller was amazed. The other agent went as a marketing genius, and our agent went in there as market insight. And when she got the listing and she was putting the sign in the front yard, the agent put it toward the street and toward the house, the for sale sign. And the seller said, wouldn't you want to turn it this way so you could see the for sale sign when you drive by the house either way? And Sarah said, well, it's my first listing. And I thought, oh man, you should have said that, because they had the highest of confidence. They had no idea it was her first. I mean, she still got the listing, sold the property, but the seller eliminated one of the St. Louis's top agents and selected a newbie because of the newbie communicated relevant information to the seller about their marketplace, all the different documents we've gone through. So this is the fifth one, and the last one you're going to share with the homeowner, and you're going to see this is where they start to reveal their motivation to stay the course on their own. You're going to see their readiness has gone from no way to awareness. You'll see awareness, you'll hear awareness, and you might hear them literally say the word, we're just not ready. And now you have something to work with. And I mean it. I've heard the word ready so many times, and it said, okay, therapy needs to continue. And we have to have follow-up questions when somebody says, I'm not ready. The question is, Bob and Sally, sellers, if new inventory comes to the marketplace and you're still on hidden Zillow, would you want to beat out those other properties that are coming onto the market? Come up, as an agent, come up with 3 or 4 questions that you're comfortable with that will help dig deeper when somebody wants to do business with you, but is hesitant to jump in, and they want to try it a little bit longer. So I hope this video was helpful to you. And once you're doing role playing with one of our coaches or myself, loan officers, you're going to start saying stuff that you go, that was really good. and you're going to come up with great questions. You're going to come up with different things to maybe talk about that's on this report. But it's the last report you do on the move up the LEAP report. So I'm going to end with this. This again is the document that you walk in with, not the top here, but when it says LEAP, and you walk them through each of these. Each of these are vignettes. As you talk about the four ponds, all right, that's what this section is here all about. Then you're going to talk about, is there property is it move-in condition? Is it available in 30 to 60 days? Is the area appreciating? Is it priced appropriately? And again, this is generally where people say, well, what do you think, agent? And you do not want to answer that question. Oh, you're priced right. No, you want to drop right down here to this last section. And that is, I gathered intel about your property before I got here. It's working on your analysis. I have viewed your property now. I got to complete my DVA, all right, my detailed value analysis. I'm almost done with it. All right, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. If you say to a seller, I'm going to start one, they're going to say, don't bother. If you say I'm about done, they may say, well, can we get back together? Which is why, again, this whole concept board, I've done just hundreds of presentations on the concept board where I'm walking them through their value of their property and all these different things. And it's an exceptional presentation, walking people through it this way. And people have gone, wow, I've never seen something so detailed. Guys, all we're doing is telling a story, and we know how to put the book in order, the storybook. So lastly, step 4 was I present the DVA to the loan officer buyer pool. We're going back to where we started. During the very beginning of your presentation, you recommended that the buy owner reach out to the loan officer sheet that you brought with you. It had 3 LOs on it, 5 LOs, whatever you want to do. And say that these LOs have a huge pool of pre-approved buyers. Again, 3 agents may have 3 to 5 hot buyers. An LO pre-approved, they got 15 to 25. It just makes sense. The loan officer should be contacted by the buy owner saying, maybe you didn't see my property online. I want to tell you about it. And the LO should be contacting the buy owner. Why? Because the LO is looking for sellers that become buyers. It's really a symbiotic relationship. This is good for everybody, bringing the LO into this and then ending your presentation with that as well. Now, what's probably happened at the very end here is they've said to you, well, Brian, what do you think of our price? And this is where my response has been, we're paid a lot of money for a short-term relationship. Let me finish up my DVA, detailed value analysis, and see if we have a buyer in the loan officer pool. Keep in mind, an LO may be 1 LO at the mortgage company, but there could be 27 LOs. And once they learn of a new property, your home, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, can go throughout that whole office of somebody who's saying, oh, I got a pre-approved buyer. They're looking for this, looking to spend $425,000 or so. So it's so important that the LO knows about your property, more so than a lot of agents to know about your property, because LOs are the front end of the plow with most buyers. So the sellers go, well, I'm not going to press you, Brian. What do you think of our price? I won't hold you to it. Yes, they will. You say the wrong number, they're going to forget everything else you said. This whole presentation was about how you made them feel, how you're moving their emotions. Now, a safe thing that I found over the years to say to people was, is it possible you're a tad high? And it's funny, you get one of the sellers saying to their spouse, what have you, I told you, honey, I told you we were too high, which is great. You want them to say it, which is what therapy is about, sales therapy. Now, if you've ever been to a therapist and, through an illness I had and in marriage counseling years ago, what I learned was the counselor was never supposed to advise the patient They're only supposed to ask questions to have the patient come to their own awareness. And that's the power behind this presentation. It's helping the sellers become aware that they may have a problem and may have a need for change. And since you're the one presenting all of this, in a way, you were interviewing the whole time with them and building rapport, asking them key questions. So I hope you found this enjoyable. The next videos we have for you would be, what is your email follow-up with them, how to actually create your DVA to present to them. This is an end-to-end for semi-owner program. This isn't just a script to get you in the door. It's end-to-end, from the very first call to how to present your price, to how to present your brokerage fee. Again, blessings on you. Hopefully this was helpful to you. Practice, practice, practice. And when you get tired of practicing, practice some more.